Welcome to the Travel Tidbits Podcast, hosted by me, Jamie Weitl, travel advisor and owner of Pineapple Escapes Travel. Join me as I share the latest travel news, top destinations, and expert tips for the savvy traveler. Because after all, travel makes life sweeter. Welcome back to the Travel Tidbits Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Weitl, and today we're talking all things Sandals and Beaches Resorts. I know that those are names that you've probably heard before. Sandals and Beaches does a great job with their marketing. But if you're like a lot of travelers, you probably have some misconceptions about what that experience is really like. So to help us set the record straight, I'm joined by someone who knows Sandals and Beaches backwards and forwards, our business development manager, Emily Wise. Emily, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I'm a big fan. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
I love that. And well, you got to sit in on our last episode of the podcast where I was talking to Derek Meany about Sandals 2.0 and how all of that is evolving when we were at Sandals Dunn's River. So I think this is kind of a great episode after that to kind of talk about like what people have in their head about all-inclusives and sandals and beaches and how we can really talk about what sets Sandals apart, what makes it so different from the other all-inclusive brands out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool to be a fly on the wall during that episode because I kind of got to be the proud stage mom. Like so excited that you were there, so excited that he was there, so excited to connect the both of you. And I think anytime there's an opportunity to learn from someone who has that like rich of a history with the brand is really, really cool because I learned so much even just sitting there and listening to the two of you talk. But Mr. Meany is a general manager who is very much rooted in this idea of, Sandals 2.0, which is really kind of the future of where the brand is headed. And I'm sure a lot of people out there who've seen our commercials, especially over the course of the past year, have noticed we're presenting ourselves a little differently. And for the first time ever, we're taking our marketing efforts and we brought them outside of our actual operation in Miami. We're partnering with an ad agency actually in Chicago called Leo Burnett. Yeah, which is really cool. So I think that they've identified a lot of opportunities, like you said, conceptions or what people think it's like to visit our resorts or that it's only for romantic trips. I mean, we've talked about it that way forever and ever. And I think that as time goes on and the brand evolves, that messaging is changing a little bit. Like gone are the days of going to an all-inclusive and just planting there. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a new destination, when I'm in a new place, it's really important to go out and explore and experience the culture and all of that. So we're just really trying to share the message that that's part of it too. Like get to our resort and then go off and see what the destination has to offer.
Right. Really experience what the Caribbean has to offer and what the different islands have to offer. And so I think from the old school way of thought, it was, love is all you need. And so you just go and you hang out there at the resort with your significant other. And that was the whole concept. And I do think it is, especially Sandals is definitely evolving. I've noticed that for sure, but beaches as well, giving you options for group trips, for trips with your girlfriends, trips with your family, extended family, multi-generational trips. Beaches Turks is a great example of that. So there's so many options out there. So let's kind of go myth by myth and kind of dispel some of these myths. So
sure.
The first one I want to talk about is a lot of people think all-inclusives aren't really all-inclusive. So typically they think all-inclusive just includes like your basics. Like you're going to get bottom rung alcohol. You're going to get nickeled and dimed for all the extras. If you want to do, water sports or go snorkeling, you're going to have to pay more for that. Everything is going to be extra. You want the lobster, that's an upcharge. And I think that that's kind of one of those things that people have in their head is, yeah, I'm paying this price, but I'm going to pay more when I get there. Even things like gratuities. So let's talk a little bit about how Sandals and Beaches have really made luxury all-inclusive a true all-inclusive experience where you don't have to touch your wallet when you get there.
Totally. I love this topic because I feel very proud that I get to work for a brand that delivers on what they promise. So I jokingly say, like, Jamie, when you send your clients down onto resort, all they need to show up with is the lint in their pockets and we'll take care of the rest. So truly, to your point, if someone sits down at dinner, they're at Butch's Steakhouse, they want to get the surf and turf, they're not going to get charged for the filet and for the lobster, of course, when that's in season. They're not going to get upcharged for that. We encourage them not to try and offer tips to the staff because it is something that's included in the price of their trip. I think the reason why this misconception exists is because we really pioneered this space for all-inclusives, and then others come into the mix. They promote themselves in a similar way. And unfortunately, they don't deliver the same promises and the same experience that we deliver. One big point of difference that can kind of be a hidden cost sometimes is the transfer to and from resort. So some resorts offer a luxury private transfer, like Sandals Royal Bahamian. If you're staying in a certain category or a certain level of service, then you can go to and from the resort in a BMW or a Rolls Royce. That's just included in the cost of that stay. So I'm really proud that we deliver all of these things as part of that initial package price, but that does come at a cost, right? Like you are going to pay a premium to visit our resorts, but it's for good reason. So I don't know, what did they call it? Girl math or whatever. Like if you show up and the trip's already paid for, then it was basically free. So of course there are opportunities, while everything is included, top shelf spirits, fabulous dining options. There aren't any restaurants on the resort that you can only visit once or that only certain categories can visit. Everyone can visit everywhere on resort. You don't have to wear a wristband. Gratuities are included. I feel like I'm probably missing some things. Oh, water sports, land and water sports, scuba diving. If you're a certified diver, you can take up to 2 dives a day with 2 tanks. Some resorts, I heard in Curacao, there are some days where they offer 3 tanks, like 3 dives a day, which is wild. So there are really, really valuable experiences that are included. And I think it's cool because, like, for example, when my husband and I went to St. Vincent this year, I was able to try a couple things I've never done before. I was able to go kayaking on the ocean. I'd never done that before. I never thought really to get out there and do that. I'd never been paddleboarding before. And spoiler alert, I was kind of a little good at it, better than my husband. Yeah. So I never would have done that if it was something like I had to pay for an excursion to try it. Mm-hmm. So definitely great opportunities to get out there and do new things. And if you want to find a way to spend money on resort, there are ways too. You can book a last minute spa experience or a last minute excursion or something like that. Those things that aren't included, but I highly recommend just so the resorts have time to prepare and the spa has time to prepare, the tour company Island Routes has time to prepare to book that ahead with you.
Yeah. And I agree. I think if you're working with a travel advisor from Pineapple Escapes, we're going to help you to book all of those things before you go. So it's all paid for, it's all handled, and there's nothing that you have to worry about once you get there. And I do think that is a big perk of Sandals and Beaches that you're not going to find in other all-inclusives in the all-inclusive space, and definitely not in things like cruises, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You're going to get nickeled and dimed in different ways in those different types of travel. So that is one thing. Once it's paid for, once it's set, you're good to go. So I think that's a really important one. One of the other big myths that I think come up a lot is about food, and that all food at all-inclusives is not good. It's repetitive. It's just buffets. And I'll say from our experience just a few weeks ago at Sandals Suns River, that's definitely not the case. We had Italian as a group one night and it was delicious. Full menu, great options, lots to choose from. And it's not to say that there aren't all-inclusives that have very basic offerings. Those definitely exist. But for foodies like me, that's not what we're looking for. So Sandals and Beaches is definitely known for their dining. Let's talk a little bit about what sets them apart in this culinary space.
Absolutely. I think innovation is the biggest thing. And I think that there are some, for those listeners that have been to one of our resorts before, there are some familiar dining options that still exist to this day. So Café de Paris, which is the cafe that we have on resort at Sandals. They make fresh crepes there for you. They have ice cream. They have all the coffee drinks you could possibly imagine. So that's one of those kind of like legacy pieces. Then on the flip side, if you go to one of our newer properties or newer resorts like Dunn's River or Sandals St. Vincent, you would find Bloom Coffee, which is short for Blue Mountain. So less options for ice cream, unfortunately. Who knows? That might not always be the case, but more options for like fabulous pastries and a little bit more kind of like high-end coffee craftsmanship, things like that. So I think the level of the product that you're getting is a little bit different, and it's because they're using different types of innovation in those spaces. So with our existing resorts, they're bringing in some of those fresh dining concepts as well, some of those fresh ideas to just like modernize and switch it up a little bit or refresh some of those legacy restaurants that we've had, around for a long time. Butch's Steakhouse, named after our late founder. Some of those are becoming Butch's Island Chop House. So more options for like fresh seafood and things like that, in addition to those delicious like steak and beef offerings. And then one thing I'll say is we don't do any buffets for dinner. For breakfast and lunch, we do offer buffets as an option, but that's purely because we appreciate the fact that people want to grab and go. I know sometimes when I'm there, I don't want a full breakfast. Maybe I just want like a quick omelet, or I just want to grab a couple little things. Same thing goes for lunch. But know that while those options are there at all of our resorts, we also have a la carte dining options as well. So it's really kind of choose your own adventure, but you're right. You're not pigeonholed into just these few options. Additionally, at any given time, depending upon the size of resort that you're at, we don't require reservations at all of our restaurants or even at half of them. Usually there's only a couple, maybe two. And I think that that's really important to note, because I personally have had experiences at other wonderful all-inclusives where they open those up at noon, and then you're like scrambling to make the reservation as you're sitting poolside. Like, am I going to be able to get in? Did you hit the button? Is it refreshing? We don't want that experience to be the case for our guests. And I think it's really cool that we've got a lot of different things to offer and that people really like our food on resort. I think it's delicious and it's only getting better.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're in a specific level of room as well, you also get room service included. So there are lots of different options, and even like the jerk shacks. I mean, some of the options from there are just delicious too. Samantha and I, our last day, sat poolside and had some jerk shack delivered to us poolside, and that was very nice as well. So that's won't go hungry.
No, you won't. And that's definitely a really great point too. I think we're doing a great job of featuring more of the cuisine that's native to that destination. So while it's cool to be able to get a hamburger on resort because you want a taste of home, or you want to get sushi, or you want to get something that's from another part of the world, we've got that to offer. But I think it's important to be able to experience the food from the destination where you are. And so we also are including other dining options. Jerk Shack is fabulous, and that will even differ from resort to resort based on what the local cuisine is like there. But Bucan is a great example of featuring fresh farm to table local cuisine. Sandals St. Vincent was the first to have that. Now we also do have it at Regency La Toc in St. Lucia. So essentially, just to wrap it up with a bow, it's, first of all, maybe one of my favorite dining experiences I've ever had. And I live in Chicago, which is a big culinary capital, Essentially, you go in, you sit down, it's family style. So you might be sitting with other people that you've never met before. You do make a reservation for this. They have 2 seatings a night. And they serve you all these different things that maybe you wouldn't normally think to order. And you're kind of I don't want to say forced, but encouraged to try these new things as if you were at someone's home. You want to be polite and try things just because they brought it out and you want to, be a part of this experience. But then all of a sudden, like I left, curried lamb is now my favorite thing. I never knew that I was going to love curried lamb, but I dream about it even still. So
I love that.
I highly, highly recommend exploring those experiences because we're really investing a lot more in that as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great point. And I do feel like the food at Sandals, especially just a few weeks ago at Sandals Dunn's River, I was really pleased. And I am a foodie. I love to eat on vacation. It's one of my biggest weaknesses, I think, as someone who travels.
That's not a weakness. That's a strength.
Well, when you travel all the time, it adds up. It adds up. But I think that is definitely something that is of note about Sandals and Beaches is the food is actually good.
Yeah.
You're not going to go hungry. So I think that's really important. The next myth I kind of want to bust here is that all the rooms are standard. That you're just going to get a basic hotel room and that's all that there is to offer. And I think that's one thing that Sandals and Beaches, especially the new Sandals 2.0 concept, is really trying to do some things that are different. I mean, we've got over the water bungalows, we've got rondevals, we've got different types of suites. There are literally thousands of room categories when you go to book a Sandals or Beaches vacation. And you really have to understand the property to know what you are booking for someone. And that's where our benefit of being on site and being on property and getting to see these options really comes into play to help our clients. But I think that's something that we really need to talk about is all of these different types of offerings and how it's not just your standard hotel.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right. It's, I hear out there, well, Sandals only has these really, really fancy rooms like overwater bungalows. And maybe that's just not the type of vacation I want to have. Or, I hear that the rooms are just like really basic and small and like there's a lot of fluff around it and that it's all about the resort itself. When really it's neither of those things.
It's for choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Oh, it totally is. And this is why our resort or our resort brand for Sandals and Beaches, the first one opened in 1981. It's about to be 45 years old, Sandals Montego Bay. Yeah. Look at that. I love it. You can celebrate your birthday together. Our brands were really built in partnership with travel advisors because we wanted to make sure that we had something to offer for everyone at really any price point. So it's complicated and it's complex. And in order to do that, we need to have a lot of different options, not only from room to room, but resort to resort, destination to destination, which is why it's so important to partner with a travel agency like Pineapple Escapes or to partner with you as a travel advisor, just because you understand the nuances and you have a direct line to me. And I know you talk about that a lot with other, BDMs and supplier partners that you've had on here, but it can be tricky to navigate. I will never have all the room categories memorized. Heck no.
Me neither, but
nope.
I'll try.
No, don't, because the moment that you do, we'll add a bathtub or something to one of the rooms and then it changes. So, it's a positive because we're always innovating. We're always improving. But I really do think that there is something for everyone. I hear a lot of people say, oh, the room doesn't matter to me. I just want to be there.
I disagree.
But it should matter a little bit because if you're in your room at 9:00 at night and you have the munchies and you're like, oh, I just really wish I had a plate of fries. If you're in a luxury level room, that might not be an option for you, which is fine for many people. But it's in that moment that you might be like, well, I wish I just would have spent a little bit more, invested into that room, and then I could be having those fries right now. So it's those little things, it's those little nuances that are important to note. And truly, we have something for everyone. We have fabulous 2-story overwater villas at Sandals St. Vincent, but then we have some like really modest, beautiful, approachable rooms that have kind of like their own version of a private pool at Sandals Ochi. You know what I mean? You can still get club service, or club level, but it's a little bit more of an attainable price point. So I'm glad that you understand those differences. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's something important with Sandals and Beaches too, is when you pick your room, you're not only picking the type of room and if you want a tranquility soaking tub and if you want a private pool and what you want there, but you're also picking your level of service. Do you want to be able to have room service? Do you want a butler? These are all things that we take into consideration when we're looking for that perfect room type for you. And it is overwhelming when you go to look at one. If you don't understand what you're looking at, there's a lot there. But it's definitely not just your standard hotel by any.
Listen, it keeps me employed because then my job is training all of you and making sure that you know. So the more confusing they can keep it, the more trainings I get to do. Absolutely.
So I think another one of the big myths is that there's really not much to do in an all-inclusive, that you just go and you sit by the pool and you suntan basically. And that's really not the case at Sandals and Beaches. We've already kind of touched on, like, there's all these things you can do. If you snorkel, if you are into water sports, you can go out and explore. There's entertainment in the evenings. There's great food. I mean, I think that we kind of have to dispel that myth that you just sit there by the pool. Can you do that? Absolutely. But that's not all there is to the brand.
That's not all there is. And if you want to have that type of vacation, you can. If you want to go to a resort that's a little bit sleepier, that's a little bit more chill, that doesn't have so much entertainment and so many different like options and like a party vibe or like a club atmosphere or whatever, like you're going to be able to find that for sure. But on the flip side, you'll have access to other resorts nearby that do. And the one that came to mind right now, actually, there's a couple. So Sandals Royal Plantation in Jamaica is this very small, unique resort. It's like a boutique almost, I would say, like more of a boutique hotel kind of vibe. And every single room has butler service. And I think you and I, when we toured that recently, both fell in love. I'm thinking like, you know, I've seen this resort before. I know about it, but like there was something different about this time where I'm like, I have to come back here. Like I have to have my own experience. It's really, really special. And I could see myself just spending like a full 3 days just decompressing, having tea on the veranda, enjoying that time. But then I might start to get the itch. And then I know I can go up the road and go to Sandals Duns River, or I can go to Sandals Ochi and do the silent beach disco at night. So I think that there's a lot of different things that are available for you to do, and you can find those pockets when you need it. But yet again, why it's really important to partner with someone who knows so you can ask those questions. And the fact that we have, you know, our sister company, which is Island Routes. It's this tour and excursion company that departs from our resorts and takes you out into the local community, takes you out on water adventures. You can do a catamaran, or you can see waterfalls, or they're all of these really special experiences that you can build into your trip to have as much or as little adventure if you'd like. If you want to go ziplining and on an ATV, you can do that. Or if you just want to go do like a little rum tasting at Appleton Estates, you can do that too. So truly, I think building that itinerary ahead of time and leaving a little bit of wiggle room in there to schedule some of those complimentary on-resort activities when you're there, going to the water sports area and just seeing what types of things they offer at that specific resort, and then filling up your schedule from there. That way you don't overload yourself, but you've got enough planned before you get there. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
Truly.
And I think that that's really the difference between a vacation and a trip. And it depends on the client, depends on who's going. When I go on a true vacation, I want to sit at the beach, sit by the pool, eat good food, and read my book. Those are what the things I want to do. But when I go on a trip, I want to go explore and go do things. And so it really just depends. And it depends on where I'm going, what I want to do, and who I'm going with as well. So I think working with someone who understands those nuances, understands those differences, really makes a big difference. But it's another one of those choose your own adventure options. Like,
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
go and do and see, and there's tons to do right there on property. Evening entertainment, all the things. But if that's not what you're looking for, we can help with that too. So
Totally.
it's definitely goes all the way around. So
I think the biggest one too, just to throw this in before I forget, is beaches. I think people get a little bit more curious regarding, is my family going to be bored? Especially at an all-inclusive. Is there going to be enough for my little ones to do? Or are my teenagers going to be ripping their hair out because I want to chill and their little brother or sister is like, wanting to do this other stuff? We have this incredible kids camp that is also complimentary at the beaches resorts. So we have 2 currently, but we're working on expanding more. Wink, wink. So we've got a lot of plans there, but the kids camp has different programs broken out in these different age categories. And then, so the teenagers don't necessarily have to go to the kids camp, but there is programming built out for them. And the little ones from infant all the way up, they end up maybe getting excited to go to kids camp because they can see their new friends that they made, or there are different activities that they do with Sesame Street and things like that. So definitely not a shortage of things to do at beaches. Plus there is unlimited frozen yogurt. So that is definitely a major perk, but tons and tons to do. And, our beaches resorts are all certified autism centers as well. So hopefully for folks who have a family who has a member who's on the spectrum, or they're curious about traveling with someone with autism, I think that it's important to know that the support is there, and that everyone on resort, up to 80% of the staff, or 80% or more of the staff, I should say, is going to be certified to be able to support families with some neurodivergent challenges as well.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about beaches is it really is perfect for multi-gen, like grandma, grandpa, brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody. There's something truly for everyone. One of my favorites when I visited Beaches Turks, there is a kids swim up bar. And so it's like smoothies and mocktail type drinks, and it's adorable, like such a great option, and really kind of makes kids feel extra special.
They're a part of it. Yeah, they're a part of the party for sure.
Yeah. So really cute, such great options. So those were really my 4 big myths, but there are a couple of other things I kind of just want to touch on briefly. So obviously we've talked about multi-generation. Groups are an amazing thing to be able to sell. Beaches is perfect for that. And also weddings and romance. So let's just hit a little bit over what Sandals and Beaches does well as far as weddings and groups, and how that translates for our clients.
Absolutely. So one important thing to note about Sandals specifically is that though you don't have to be a couple to travel to Sandals, that's also a big myth that I want to bust. You don't have to be in a romantic partnership to travel to Sandals resorts. You do, however, have to be traveling with someone that you don't mind sharing a king bed with. So fabulous for really close friends that want to travel together, fabulous for mother-daughter, sister trips, something like that. I went to Sandals Montego Bay with my mom earlier this year, who was a travel advisor when I was growing up. I grew up watching Sandals and Beaches VHS tapes from the time I was little. So I've been a lifelong fan. But it was really cool to take her down for the first time and have that experience with her. And nobody was looking at us funny. And nobody was like, what are you gals doing here? You're not a couple. It wasn't that vibe at all. So it's cool to know that we're evolving in that way. So when considering a group, or maybe it's a big birthday or a pickleball group or something like that, I think that's a really good thing to note, is that at Sandals Resorts, adults only, each room holds 2 people that are going to be sharing a king bed. Other than that, definitely, you're going to want to look at Beaches Resorts. There's a little bit more options in terms of diverse sleeping accommodations, multiple beds in a room, some villa options that can sleep up to 16, things like that. Meetings and events. That's something we do really, really well. We have conference rooms. We have beautiful ballrooms at some of our various resorts, and weddings and celebrations are something that are really, really special to us, of course. One thing that I do, that's also another myth, that we don't do our free wedding anymore when we actually do. So if the bride and groom plan to stay 7 nights or longer in a club or a butler room, this specific sweetheart wedding package will be included for them. This is just for brand newly married people. So this is like a brand new wedding, not a retie the knot ceremony. So if they've already gotten married stateside and they're not planning to get married legally on resort, then definitely they wouldn't necessarily qualify for that. But it is something that we do offer as the legal marriage ceremony, complimentary for those guests. And then we also are doing an eco-conscious program for weddings, which is really neat. So looking at kind of some of the trends that are happening right now, what are our modern bride and grooms looking for their weddings? They're a little bit more aware and concerned about the amount of waste that can go into some of those types of events. So they're utilizing more local native plants that are potted, that are really beautiful, that they can utilize in the decorations and setting up for the event, but then can also be utilized again afterwards. So really neat little differences like that. A little bit more of like an earthy, natural kind of vibe, natural materials used. So things like that, those little differences, once again, like we're always changing, we're always evolving. And the sky's the limit with the type of group you can put together. Because Jamie, I truly feel like if you said, I want to put together a girls group and we're going to go to this resort, here's the itinerary, we're doubling up in rooms, like you can really put anything together. You can base it around spa and wellness. You could base it around fitness and culinary. You could base it around tennis or pickleball or scuba or golf. I think anything can be a group, and I don't know. It's just a really cool way to travel. I feel like I want you to put a group together just so I can come.
That sounds great. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Maybe my 50th, but that's still like 6 years away.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, we can plan now. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So when we were on property, we went and toured several different resorts, and we also went to the Sandals Golf Club that is right there by Sandals Ochi, Sandals Duns River, right in that area. And one of the things that I learned about on this trip was the Sandals Foundation and how they are working with local communities and doing different things to support the communities that these resorts are in. And one of the things that they do at the golf course there is they offer on Saturdays golf lessons for the kids in the local community. And that really spoke to me. And then when I was talking to Mr. Meany, and Emily was there with us, he started talking about the Sandals Foundation and all that they do. And both Emily and I were basically bawling. And he's like, don't cry. It's okay. Like, I just feel like there are so many positives about the Sandals Foundation and all that it can offer. So do you want to give a little insight there? And then I'll talk about kind of my thought process and how that evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that is one of the many things that you can feel really good about in coming down and being a guest at Sandals or Beaches Resorts, a portion of every stay is donated to and supports our nonprofit organization called the Sandals Foundation. And really, the Sandals Foundation is all about enriching the communities where we're located. So that could be local schools. That could be helping to build local schools. That could be helping to make sure that they have all the school supplies that they need. That could be working with women's shelters nearby, making sure they have all the supplies and support they need. That could be planting coral and working in some of these like environmental conservation efforts. We're very, very rooted in that. And I think that the proof is in the pudding, really. You know, the Sandals Foundation, we do have our own website if anyone wanted to go on and check that out. And I think that there's just so much information on there. The program varies from island to island. But another thing that we realize is really popular that they end up benefiting greatly from is, what do we call that? Voluntourism.
Yes.
right? Voluntourism. So if you were ever down on resort, you want to get into the local community, you want to go out and book an excursion. I wouldn't even call it an excursion, but you book it the same way. You can do something called the reading road trip, where you can book with Jamie or someone at Pineapple Escapes, and they can get you into one of the local schools for story time. And just, it can look kind of differently. The one time I did it, I thought I was going to go in and read a book, but I ended up just coloring with these kids and laughing with them and like learning about their families and like checking out their fashion and their cute light up sneakers or whatever it may be. And they were just so excited to speak with someone that is an adult that's there to play. Yeah. I think just having that vibe in general is really fun and really special. Like it's not all business and school time and learning about every little thing. It's like, let's just play and see where we want to go with this. So really, really fun opportunity if you ever have a chance to do that. But definitely Sandals Foundation is one of those things where, you know, I feel really, really proud that we as a company have the organization that just exists to enrich the area around it. I feel like that's kind of a rare thing. And for us to be a family-owned, Caribbean-owned company, it's a really important part of our brand's like kind of fabric, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I find this really inspirational too. And like there was something about being at the golf course and just the whole like experience. And I was like, okay, this is it for this year. So starting last year, we have picked a different give back opportunity of some sort for Pineapple Escapes agents and clients to contribute to during the holidays. And it used to be when we first opened the agency, I would give away a trip or do something like that. But I really feel like this kind of a give back where we are giving to a local community somewhere that is really supported by tourism, it is more important and more valuable to me than just giving someone a trip. I know everybody wants to win a trip, but I would just feel like this touches my heart in a different way. And so when we were there, I'm like, yeah, this is it for this year. So this year, as part of Pineapple Escapes Give Back for the holiday season, we are going to be supporting the Sandals Foundation. And so how this works is both the agents and any of our clients who would like to donate can reach out to me. My email is Jamie, Jamie, Weitl, Weitl, at pineappleescapes.com. Just reach out to me and let me know how you want to donate and we will coordinate it. And then Pineapple Escapes as the agency will match those donations. So whatever is donated into us, we will match that donation and give it back to the Sandals Foundation. I really feel like this is what Christmas is all about, what the holiday season is all about, is the spirit of giving, and doing things like this is what makes Christmas and holidays worthwhile to me. And so that's why this is what I've decided to do each year at the holidays. And this year I'm really excited to be partnering with Emily and her whole team and the Sandals Foundation to give back to them. So if you would like to donate, please reach out to me. And we will be doing another podcast at the beginning of the year, talking about our donation, talking with the Sandals Foundation directly to talk about where our money's going to go and how it's going to be utilized to help these communities. So I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. I'm like trying so hard not to burst into tears. It's just such a special thing and such like a wonderful, grand gesture. And I know because I've seen it, how appreciated it's going to be. Every little bit. I mean, you think even just here stateside, how difficult it can be for some kids to have school supplies, you know? So when you're going into some of these communities in the Caribbean that just need that support, it blows them away. And it's so appreciated. And it's really, every little bit is so well utilized. So I know this is going to be a fabulous effort. I know it's going to be so well received. And I think it's going to be huge. I think that you work with some really, really kind and really, really loyal, loving, giving people. And so I super appreciate the partnership. And I I'm excited. I'm excited for all that's to come. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone in advance for your support. This is a really big deal.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. And just,
I'm like holding it all in.
I just love the idea of combining Christmas with that spirit of giving. And I think this is a great way to do that. So I'm super excited about what's to come and more podcasts with Sandals and Beaches and the Sandals Foundation in the new year. So that is what's on tap for us. And I hope that Emily and I have been able to bust some of your myths about Sandals and Beaches and what Sandals 2.0 and an all-inclusive concept with sandals is really like. If you think that you would like to book a Sandals or Beaches vacation, our Pineapple Escapes travel agents are here and ready to help. We know the room categories. We know what you're looking at. We've seen almost all of them. Samantha's really close to all of them. And I'm checking mine off the list too. I was just telling Emily about that before we started recording. So we definitely have that insight and that insider information. And if we don't know, we'll ask Emily and Emily will find out for us. So please let us know if you are interested in booking your winter escape to escape the snow at a Sandals or Beaches or a group or a wedding. Anything that you're looking for, we would love to help. And thank you again, Emily, so much for joining us. And thanks again for tuning in to the Travel Tidbits Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And remember, travel makes life sweeter. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast, where we believe travel makes life sweeter. The team at Pineapple Escapes Travel would love to help you plan a trip filled with lasting memories. Visit us online at www.pineappleescapes.com to start planning your next adventure.